We're now just 4 days away from the provincial election. The two major party leaders are crisscrossing the province to rally support, and there have been a few surprises and controversies on the campaign trail the past week and a half. The 306 panel has been following it all, and this is going to be our most extensive discussion to date. So don't go anywhere. If you're driving home, about to pull into your driveway, you're going to want to hear this. Dale Richardson is principal at Earnscliffe Strategies and a former political staffer with the Saskatchewan Party. And Jack Saddleback is a professional speaker who formerly ran for a federal NDP nomination. And Jack is also a regional organizer with the Society of Queer Momentum. Good afternoon, Dale.
Hello there.
And hello, Jack.
Hey, Dance.
So let's start with a controversial policy that Scott Moe announced the day after the debate. Moe said if reelected, his first order of business is to restrict students' use of change rooms in schools to their sex assigned at birth. Jack, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, first off, I've been pretty vocal about how unfortunate it is that we have an individual who's running in a provincial party that is seeking to be elected as government, bring up this policy that infringes upon the rights of minors, of youth, of students who happen to be transgender. Now, when we're looking at the policy itself, we can also kind of break this apart, and the fact that he's chosen this to be his first priority coming into the office, as opposed to dealing with homelessness and addiction issues, as opposed to dealing with the affordability aspects, as opposed to maybe releasing some of these visions of taxations and whatnot. For him to jump on this misinformation bandwagon just goes to show how swayable he is to disinformation. And it's unfortunate that these two youth are being targeted by this individual, that being Scott Moe. That being said, though, I also do want to bring up the fact that his rival in his riding is Mark Thunderchild. And Mark Thunderchild has actually taken it upon himself to write a children's book with his partner that simply showcases a non-binary child going to the dentist. So that's a way that Mark has shown how to be able to have these conversations about non-binary individuals in our society and how easy it is to be able to address people as the humans and people that they are.
Dale, this policy was seemingly a reaction to one article from a conservative commentary website. Just any thoughts on Scott Moe's announcement? And I think the key here was that he said it would be the first order of business.
Yeah, people are definitely taking issue with that particular part of it. I don't think Scott Moe and the Sask Party, I don't think that they were looking for this issue to be part of the campaign. If they did, I think they would have talked more about Bill 137, which was a big issue last fall. So this issue came up, from the one news website. I think that they felt like they had to address it quickly and decisively, and then hope to get back to their main issues in the campaign, which is affordability, healthcare, the economy and jobs. So I think it did pull them off track a bit for sure last week, and I think the Premier would have much rather enjoyed talking about his campaign plan and what they've put forward so far than talking about this.
Do you think this has any effect on the Sask Party, good or bad?
I think probably. I think it'll probably show up in the cities, definitely more so than the rural part of the province. Mm-hmm. And I think it is important to say that this issue it's not something that speaks particularly strongly to me or to many others. What Jack said, I would largely be in agreement with. A lot of people will hate this policy, but there will be. I'm not one of them. There will be people in the province that agree with this. Full stop. So yeah, it's one of these kind of strange campaign things that's come up, and that's what they've been talking about.
I want to pick right up from that, Dale, and this is for you, Jack, because this is a larger discussion far beyond our borders here in Saskatchewan. Every time I turn on my TV, I see American political ads that are essentially weaponizing trans issues. Jack, why do you think this is happening?
Well, this is stemming from quite a coordinated movement that started out in the United States. It has then permeated its way, or kind of leaked its way, into Canadian public realms, where disinformation that's been happening on social media, that's been fueling anti-trans and general anti-2S LGBTQ or anti-gay sort of sentiment has created siloed effects where people are seeing the misinformation as quote-unquote truth, when in actuality is not. It is a way to be able to push us back in history to try and vilify individuals such as myself, who happens to be transgender. I'm more than just trans. I'm a great D&D player. I'm a great was a great lacrosse player back in the day. But the fact of the matter is that there's this sentiment that shouldn't be coming into Canadian politics, and yet it is. And as I just want to jump off of Dale's point here, when it comes to Bill 137, that's one policy aspect that comes into place. That being, Bill 137 talks about individuals who are under the age of 16 should get permission from, or should be informed, their parents should be informed of their gender pronoun changes in school. Now, the introduction of this potential legislation that the Sask Party, and specifically Scott Moe, is putting forward, is legislating change rooms for minors. So I think that within itself should set off a big flag for individuals. But at the same time, I am so hopeful that the general public is becoming aware of how backwards this truly seems and how un-Canadian it is. We look to each other as the neighbors that we are, as the humans that we are, and that's the prairie thing to do. The unfortunate thing is that that's not seem to be resonating within the Sask Party. However, progressiveness is happening, and we have seen that in New Brunswick, where just earlier this week, the progressive Conservatives were actually a landslide defeat by the Liberal provincial party that's over there, because the progressive Conservatives of New Brunswick were running on an anti-trans slate.
Jack, we got a lot to talk about. I did want to ask you, is it a good or a bad thing that we're talking about this right now?
It's a good thing, because at the end of the day, trans folks, genderqueer folks are less than 1% of our Canadian population, and yet we're being used as a wedge issue in the larger scheme of things, when we should all be working together around housing, around affordability, around substance use and addiction use, and the ability to be able to create mental health supports for individuals. And furthermore, as trans folks, we give a lot to the economy as well. And diversity within our communities is the backbone here in our province. And we need a government that is able to step up and speak to that.
All right, let's move on to another unexpected topic in this campaign. Scott Moe's comments about vandalism at the campaign office there on Tuesday. Just to reiterate for people who don't know, Moe said it was a result of a gunshot, but police said that wasn't the case. And then yesterday, Moe didn't take questions, but CBC's Dan Zakreski did ask him on the way to the event, and Moe said, quote, "That's what police said it was. Police say at no time," this is a quote, police say, quote, "at no time did our officers communicate the damage as a result of gunshots to anyone." Today, Moe apologized for mixing things up. Obviously, police say that there was an officer there, but it wasn't logged. A whole lot of messiness here. But Dale, what do you make of Scott Moe's handling of this and coming out and saying there were gunshots at a campaign office?
Yeah, I saw the initial story and the news release that the Sask Party put out about potential gunfire towards a campaign office.
Well, it didn't say potential at first.
Yeah, they said that bullets had hit, or some type of
gunshots had hit the campaign office.
I saw that. I didn't see the Premier's comments today. Was it that he kind of walked it back? I don't know. I mean, if they believe that this was what it was initially, they should be taken at their word. If more information comes out where, okay, it wasn't this, and the police actually never did say it, then that's a whole other thing. I mean, we can talk about political violence towards politicians and candidates. I mean, that's a pretty serious thing. I don't think it should be made light of. If it's what the Sask Party and this particular campaign in Regina thought that it was, whose I don't know. I don't think we should be questioning them on that.
I mean,
if that's what
clearly
they
there was
think it
vandalism, but there's
Right.
no indication that they were gunshots.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, on just running with that. And again, it is a serious issue of political violence, and of course, it isn't acceptable that somebody vandalized this office.
Yeah, I mean, as a former political staffer, and I worked with ministers and the premier, the current premier, it's a pretty serious threat. I wasn't particularly I didn't ever feel like I was in any danger during campaigns, but you definitely see the type of things that politicians of all stripes, NDP, Liberal, Conservative, Sask Party, that they have to deal with. I mean, there have been politicians in the world, I think in the UK in the last few years that have been killed. Donald Trump, we can say what we will about him. I am definitely not a fan of that guy, but he was he was almost assassinated twice.
But again, with that, is it more important to be careful about what you say? Was it an overreaction?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to speak to that. I think that they presented what they thought to be true at the time, and if additional information comes up, then it sounds like the premier walked back his comments, or if he had more info, then.
Yeah, he essentially apologized for not getting all the info ahead of time, but that he didn't know exactly.
Good for him then.
Jack, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree that a little bit of a breather should be happening in these types of situations, because being able to put forward such violent tendencies that individuals who are in our communities may take up is a serious topic within itself. So being able to take a breather, listen to all sides of the story, and not necessarily run on hearsay is of the utmost importance, especially in our times of fast communications and things jumping off and people grabbing on to truths and untruths that kind of run along with their own thought processes.
All right, well, that was the unexpected news that I didn't anticipate us actually talking about. But Dale, how do you think overall the leaders have been doing in this final push?
I think they're doing what they need to be doing, which is getting their supporters to go and vote, or making the best case for them to do that. At this point in the campaign, I mean, maybe people don't fully realize if they're casual watchers of politics, but candidates and campaigns, they've been working for months, if not years, to get to this point. So it's not like at this point people are doing last minute door knocking to see if certain people are going to vote. This week right now, it's all about getting out the vote. Contacting the people that have said yes, I'm going to vote for you, and then you get those people to vote.
How important is that, Dale? Because that is something we don't get to hear very often, right?
Totally important. I mean, Jack knows this as a former candidate. This was something that I did for 15 years as a political staffer and volunteer, getting out the vote and going and knocking on people's doors and texting people, phone calling, sending emails. I mean, there's a reason why political parties send that annoying text to you right when you're about to go to bed.
Don't open up that.
But this is modern campaigning, where they are trying to contact people and get them right now, at least, to go to the polls and to vote for whoever their party or candidate is. But yeah, right now that's all what the parties and what the leaders are doing, is getting their supporters to vote.
Jack, just any thoughts on the two leaders in their final push and what parties are doing right now?
Well, it's going to be some exciting times in some of these spaces that they are going to. I know Carla Beck is going out to PA, Yorkton, and Fort Qu'Appelle, which is going to be an interesting time, as that is Scott Moe's constituency area. When Dale was mentioning the fact that this background work has been happening for sometimes years, months, and the weeks leading up to what we are seeing as the advanced polls are taking place, these conversations have happened. So the decided voters, now it's just the time of being able to be that annoying friend on the phone saying, please go out and actually cast your vote. You probably have opened up your own social media and have seen people tell you it takes only 10 minutes, roughly around there, depending on what time you go at, to go out and actually cast your vote. And the biggest push right now is getting people to physically do what they need to to have their voice heard. What's going to be said on the campaign trail is not necessarily going to change, at least in my own personal opinion. But Dale, you can go ahead and chime in there if you think that anything's going to change in this next few days. But for the most part, most of the talk is going to be the tried and true. This is our platform. Here's our information. Now, please hit the polls.
Do you have something you want to add, Dale?
Yeah, no, just that they're that the two leaders, Scott Moe and Saddleback, they're making some interesting campaign stops, as Jack noted. Both of them, they've been going back and forth pretty much all week between Moose Jaw to Prince Albert, which is so fascinating to me. There's only 2 seats in each of those cities,
yeah.
But they're clearly very important to the strategy, to the outcome of both of the campaigns. So yeah, they're probably driving past each other on the highway, and maybe they're waving to each other in their campaign vehicles. Which
they would save money if they carpooled.
They should carpool.
They should carpool and do dueling events. Yeah.
I don't want to run out of time, and this is something that I wanted to talk about 2 weeks ago as well, and it's a good segue because let's look at that the PA North Coast race. Right, it's a very tight constituency, has been for multiple elections. It's just one constituency, okay? But I'm wondering, how important is it? Do people care about their MLAs, right? This is a conversation that we talked about. Is it all about the leaders? I mean, we're guilty of this here at CBC, of course, right? We focus on the leaders. They're the ones talking every day, and we aren't able to get into those individual races. Do you think it's important to voters to know who their MLA is? Are those individual localized races an important part of the campaign?
I think if you asked a local constituent who their MLA is, they likely wouldn't be able to name who that person is. Same with city councilors, same with member of parliament. There has been a trend for a long time now of leader-centric, leader-focused campaigns. People, by and large, they will know who the leader of the Sask party is. They will likely know who the leader for the NDP is, although Carla Beck, as we've talked about in the past, people don't fully know her.
She's newer as well.
She's newer. But yeah, no, there's campaigns they run, leader-focused campaigns, because ultimately they're the person that is going to be the premier. They're going to be the boss. That's why their face, it's featured in all the ads and the mailings and the phone calls that you get.
Jack, and I guess my question to you is, should it be that way? Should we care so much about the leaders? Again, to Dale's point, that is who's going to be the premier. They are the leader of the party. They will help shape things. But to me, too, I always found it very important to know who my MLA is and to know what's going on in my constituency and know who's going to be the one representing where I live. What do you think? Should it be the way it is?
Well, I got 2 sides here. With that being said, I agree with Dale that quite often what we've been hearing in the public sphere is that your general run-of-the-mill individual who doesn't necessarily tune in to CPAC every day is not going to know who their MLA or who their constituencies are that are running during an election season. That being said, we have individuals who are starting to recognize that politics themselves should pop off. Should be good, should be fun, should be energetic, because these are the individuals who are taking your voice or matters to the legislative building, taking your matters to the House of Commons, taking your matters to your own city council. With that said, I think, for my own personal opinion, and everyone has their own opinions, their own sway, their own, I want to suppose, say passion for politics, is that I love to be able to know who the individuals that are representing me are going to be going forward. I think when we're looking at PA, we have a large Indigenous community up there. And unfortunately, what we do here within our Indigenous communities is quite often because of the colonial systems, because of the Indian Act, because of the not having the ability to vote since about since before the 1960s, that quite often Indigenous folks do not necessarily participate in voting and elections. That being said, we are seeing a big shift over these past recent years for Indigenous communities to participate in elections, and I think it's quite telling that we do have these 2 parties focusing on PA and other spots that do have large Indigenous community populations.
It will be very interesting in terms of turnout and those kind of things, especially because a lot of those races north of Saskatoon are very important and close. I wish we could talk for another hour and a half, so let's leave it at this one. A poll from Insightrix this week shows the race is still close. Excuse me, of course, frog in my throat. The race is still close, but the NDP is slightly ahead in this Insightrix poll. Other previous polls have said the Sask Party will win again. What do you guys think? Where are we heading, Dale?
Well, I think in terms of results, my mic was on. I think in terms of results, the map of the province still favors the Sask Party. It's just they kind of almost come in with a built-in. Not guaranteed, but very likely to win number of seats.
But I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, and then they probably need a few more just to get a majority government. So I don't think any of the parties at this point are focused on the polls. They, as we've discussed, they have one job: it's to get their supporters out to vote, and that's all that they're focused on. But yeah, I think if we're looking for predictions, I'm not sure if that's the point in the show that we're at, Peter. But I think if the Sask Party on Monday night, if they come away in the high 30 seat count, even hit 40, I think that'll be a terrific night for them. If they get below 36 seats, I think that, and even if they win, I think that will be spun, I think rightfully so by the NDP as a very good night for the NDP.
Jack, you got a minute.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the football fans here with this analogy here. We don't necessarily look at the final scoreboard until the game is done. You play as hard as you can, and you play with your best of heart. That said, we have some great plays that are taking place in the politics in our province, and I agree with Dale here that there are some aspects within the NDP that are coming up. So as we look to Monday and we see the final count of this tallying and the scoreboard that's going to be coming in, I'm looking forward to seeing how the NDP actually does shape up against this 17-year-long government that has been in play.
Jack, let me ask you just very quickly, do you expect any massive changes in favor of the NDP? Obviously, there's a lot of close races, but do you expect anything really shocking?
Well, I certainly, I'm an optimist. I'm an optimistic individual to a fault. So let's see what Monday goes up to, and we'll speak in 2 weeks.
Dale, Jack, pleasure as always.
Thanks, Peter.
And they're both wearing cardigans today.
We have very nice fall sweaters on. So
but nobody told me, and so I didn't bring my fall sweater. Next week, if we have you back for the post-election conversation, I'll make sure I'm dressed properly. Jack Saddleback and Dale Richardson make up our public affairs panel here on the 306. Have any thoughts on what you just heard? Email the 306@cbc.ca or call 1-800-661-7540.